anybody to use them. Or coercion can involve the threat of depriving somebody of something to which they're entitled. That is, if somebody is starving in Uganda, and you say to them, I'll give you food if you'll have sex with me, that's coercive, because a person cannot choose to not have food. And even though they're not threatened with force or the use of force, they're threatened with further deprivation of something to which they're entitled, assuming I'm in a position to get them food and I'm controlling their access to food. None of these things is occurring in professional sports or collegiate sports. That is, nobody's being deprived of anything they're entitled to. It's true that if you want to make $1 million, anabolic steroids will help you get there. But there's no entitlement to make $1 million. It's not a basic right to make $1 million. We're not, by saying if you want to make $1 million, you have to use steroids, would be the same. It would be as if Walter Payton came up to us and said, look, I want to make $1 million, but this tackling stuff is really out of hand. I would like there to be a rule that it be two-hand touch. To which the answer is, Walter, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. We pay people to expose themselves to violence. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. Nobody's making you do it. It's true it's a neat way to make $1 million, easier than any other way you'll find in life. But you're not entitled to make $1 million. If you want to make $1 million, here's the way to do it, by taking some risks. If you don't want to take the risks, don't do it. Nobody's forcing him. No one's coercing him. The claim of coercion is the failure to distinguish an offer from a threat. Coercion involves threats, either the use of force or the threat of force. What we have here is an offer that is a chance for people to be better off than they are, not worse off. Now, some people say, all right, it's not coercion, but it's something else that's equally bad called exploitation, taking unfair advantage of someone's poverty. Lord knows that many, if not most, professional football players come from circumstances in which they have little or no other way to make not only a lot of money, but to make any decent living at all, lacking in education. They can't choose whether or not to be a doctor or a lawyer or a football player. Being a doctor or a lawyer was really off the books from early childhood. Exploitation is a little bit more elusive concept than coercion. Generally means taking advantage of a person's basic need by doing something that would otherwise be wrong. Going back to the example of the starving Ugandan who's offered sex in exchange for food, imposing sex on somebody is something that's inherently wrong. That is, forcing somebody to submit to sex is something that who doesn't want to is widely construed to be abusive. But giving somebody $1 million is not inherently wrong. It doesn't violate any moral principle by giving somebody $1 million. So to take advantage of somebody's poverty by dangling $1 million with somebody, we wish that we lived in a society in which people weren't so tempted by this that they had to expose themselves to risk of harm, that they had other choices. We don't live in such a society, but the solution to that is not to withhold all opportunities for wealth. That is, to tell someone trapped in inner city poverty that not only are we not going to provide them with the education and the modeling